You wanted fairly poorly executed digital images of an overrated rock band. You got poorly executed digital images of a overrated rock band. Yes. Hi, everybody. This is Kelly at KELLYTHUL on social media. And joining me as always,
I am Dr. Mike, the once and still Harbor Master. You can find me at Official Pagan on everything social media. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, leave a comment. Tell us why you hate the Kiss avatars. Leave another comment, argue with each other, leaving as many comments as you can. And you know what? You know what's a great background for an argument? Listening to Hard No, the world's shortest podcast. Just put a playlist on, let those episodes play. You're going to start to feel something weird, though. You're going to start to feel naked. And the only way to cover up that nakedness and shame is to head over to our merch store and pick up some gear.
yep, gonna work in some sort of Garden of Eden reference sort of for clothing, but I just can't connect the dots yet. So we won't give that one a shot. However, just when you thought the bastards were gone, they create worse than Devo 2.0. So this is because so Devo 2.0 still, I think, a really noble concept and a great idea, which was to say we're gonna create in our own image and likeness a new Devo that are younger, and have them appear. This is, of course, Kiss. We will know we want all the money. so how do we kind of earn money in perpetuity forever? So they while they did their fifth or sixth final concert, last concert, so maybe this one will stick. Who knows? So they're done. They've gone through some work to capture themselves so that they're available. How would you describe what they've done?
So I think it's important to point out. So as Kelly already referenced, Kiss has gone on numerous farewell tours. I'm pretty sure that the first time I was really aware of Kiss as a kid was on a farewell tour. I didn't see them, but like they had announced a farewell tour. And so there was a lot of like Kiss media that was coming out at that time. So that was really my introduction to Kiss, was their farewell tour 30 years ago. So and this is yet another farewell tour. They're promising this one's going to stick. I do think there's a possibility of that just because of health and things like that. Like they did miss some shows on this farewell tour, particularly towards the end because of, health issues of them being 1,000 years old and things like that. And I get it. I'm not knocking Kiss. I play music on a much smaller scale than them, and I'm only 41, and I feel like somebody beat the hell out of me when I get done a show. So I can't imagine being decades older than I am now, putting on a show of that scale at any capacity. I'm sure it's incredibly difficult on them. They have been talking for years, though, about Kiss continuing beyond them, beyond the two original founding members who are still in the band. Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons have both publicly said for years that Kiss will continue after they do eventually retire. They never made any specific, inklings of what that would be. Is it going to be a new band, Devo style, like you were saying? Is it just going to be a totally new band? Will the other two guys who have been touring with them for 20 years or whatever it is at this point now, would they just be taking over the band with two new members? Would it be different touring companies the way that Trans-Siberian Orchestra does for their holiday show, where none of those bands are Trans-Siberian Orchestra? It's just hired musicians who take the tour out on the road. Would it be a Vegas show? There's all kinds of things they could do, and I would argue Kiss, more than almost any band, is definitely a brand first when you compare them to any other band of that scale that they're at. They're a brand first. So it makes sense to me that Kiss would continue on beyond the members in some branded capacity. So I knew this was coming, as everybody should have. I didn't necessarily think virtual band was the direction that they were going to go, but it makes sense. Because if a new band takes over, or even if the other two guys continued on with new guys and they would just, rotate people out as they retire, that's other people getting the accolades. This allows it to be an avatar of them, potentially forever if it's successful. So it really makes sense to me that this is the route that they want to go.
Yeah. And in terms of kind of highly repetitious kind of same story forever that you're going to get in a synthesized environment, that was kind of what they were. So I mean, it was like there was not like, oh, there were certain eras of Kiss and those types of things beyond, some disastrous turns like the Dynasty album and a few things like that. And then they're attempting to be taken seriously as musicians on Music for the Elder, then they went back to just being what they were, either with makeup or without makeup.
Yeah, and that's the thing, Kiss, as Kelly's alluded to, and he's far more knowledgeable of them than I am, but they're a band that really hasn't grown or evolved a lot over. And when the few times that they have pushed in that direction a little bit, the fans have rejected it. So I don't blame them for sticking with what works and what the fans obviously want. So, continuing just that, like it's stuck in a time capsule forever, is obviously what people want to a certain degree. Now, where I think this is going to run into issues, a lot of Kiss's fan base definitely skews older, and they're not, by and large, going to accept the cartoon AI Kiss. And even if they did, let's just say, we'll play devil's advocate and say most people get behind this. Most of the Kiss army falls in line behind their new marching orders with the AI Kiss. At some point, those people are going to die, not to be morbid, but how do you get new fans behind this? That's the bigger issue to me.
Yeah, which I don't see happening. I don't think they're a growth industry in terms of speaking to the new fan base, and I think part of it is because they picked a lane, they ran in that lane, and that appealed to a group of folks, and they're big fans of it, and that went. But you don't hear or see, I think, nearly the diversity of ages at a Kiss concert that you do at, the guy that they stole the concept from, Alice. So, so you're like, well, if one Alice Cooper is great, how about four of them? It's basically the story of Kiss. Not really appreciating or understanding all that is Alice in terms of what the original group kind of brought to the table, and then him as a solo artist. So go to an Alice concert and you've got lieutenants from the Kiss Army in attendance, but you also have their children or their grandchildren attending as well. So you get a much bigger difference in age, I think, at an Alice concert. So I don't know how this group reads to a younger audience, where I still think Alice could pull it off from time to time. But so I think you're right. I think that's probably one of the biggest flaws in this, is that your base is dying off, and also not probably the people who are going to most readily adopt this incarnation, to kind of go there, that's maybe they're maybe lack some of the technology expertise to kind of know how to fully appreciate this. My thoughts.
Yeah, and that's the thing, the Kiss fans probably aren't going to, by and large, get behind this. It's still early. I know there's a lot of negativity already online about it. It's still early. So there's a lot of stuff we don't know. So this is something that's being put together by the same people who put together a very similar thing that ABBA has been doing for a while now. ABBA doesn't tour anymore, but there are these CGI avatars of them created by the same people. But the thing with that is they built a specific performance space for this, and people come and see this show at that performance space. And it's more of a almost a hologram thing where it looks like there's a clear screen. So it looks like it's young ABBA kind of moving around and dancing around. They are not animated in the way that this is, though, where they're like a cartoon group of superheroes. The Kiss performance, it's just motion capped ABBA with, younger CGI'd faces, essentially. Also with the ABBA thing, and this isn't clear yet with the Kiss thing, with the ABBA thing, there's a live band there playing. So while it's pre-recorded vocals from ABBA, there is a band playing as ABBA there. So similar to, one of the options the Kiss had as far as another band sort of taking over. So essentially what ABBA is new musicians playing the ABBA music with the vocal tracks and the images of the original ABBA members. But there is live music being played there. And I didn't hear any of that mentioned in any of the Kiss stuff. So to me, it isn't clear yet if there's going to be a live band playing. The debut of this was immediately following Kiss playing their last song. The virtual band took the stage to do the encore song, and there wasn't a live band. It was entirely a pre-recorded thing. And that's where especially I think you're going to lose a lot of music fans, because at least with the ABBA thing, there is a band playing. There's a virtual element to it, but there's a live band there playing. So I don't know if people are going to accept this with no live music. Now, the difference with this, and even other virtual bands that have existed for years, like Gorillaz and Metalocalypse with Death Clock, the difference with it, those are live bands that play. They just have a animated show that's projected above them, while the band plays in a shrouded area beneath of it. But it is the band, the live band that's playing. This, unlike all that other stuff, and even ABBA, which was from the same people, supposedly is going to use AI to be able to interact on the fly with people. So it's not going to be a pre-rendered, pre-recorded show. Supposedly, it's all going to be rendered in real time, meaning that the shows will be different and they'll interact with each other and with the audience differently each time. I say supposedly, not because I don't think that's possible. It's just, it seems like a big technological leap over what exists currently. And I could see there being hiccups with this being the first time this is being done on a scale like that.
Yeah. And the fact that Kiss didn't really perform that diversely to begin with. It's like their base set of information to pull off from. It's like, oh, and then maybe we'll have him breathe fire. Yeah, that'd be good. During God of Thunder. Yeah, that'd be good. And let's have Paul McCartney go, now come on now. It's like, that's about
he said now twice this time.
Yeah. Now come on now. We'll just have to see. But yeah, I'm an ex Kiss Army member. Court-martialed out of the Kiss Army. After Ace left, Kelly left. So that was about it for me. And I don't know. We'll see. It is, but it is on. You talk about them being a brand. This is very on brand for them too.
Very
which
much.
Ultimately is, how can we continue to milk this as long as possible to make money off of this as long as possible? Because
and not just that, because they could have gone the touring band route, but not just that, made it them for as long as possible, which is I think the most on brand thing they could have done.
Yeah, not short of ego.
Yeah. Because they could have just hired two new guys to take their place, had the other two guys kind of ease them into it, eventually retire and be replaced themselves, and the band just continue perpetually replacing pieces as needed. Yep. But no, this allows it to be Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley in some form, and essentially in perpetuity.
Yeah, I like the Dread Pirate Roberts band kind of approach. I think that would be good to
Yeah.
just kind of slide in that next new one, kind of that'd have been that actually would have been in terms of if they were interested in more than their egos and money, if they were actually interested in saying, you know what, let's do something that's never been done before. It'll be a legacy. It'll actually we'll take what we created and kind of carry it forward in the future. And that idea of this continual refresh of who's in it, that actually been a pretty cool idea.
Which is kind of what I assumed, and I think a lot of people probably assumed they were going to do, was something along those lines. Because again, they've been talking about this in broad strokes for a long time, that they wanted the band to continue beyond them when they eventually for real retired. That Kiss, the brand, would continue, including touring in some capacity. And it makes sense of all bands to be the first ones to take this far. Because again, ABBA's already doing a variation of this, and virtual bands exist, but like Death Clock is a real band that plays on stage, and then the animated TV show versions of them play on a big screen behind them. So this is a band taking this further than it's ever gone before, with the AI not pre-rendered versions of them doing these shows that are being rendered on the fly. I can see, even looking beyond, is the Kiss Army going to accept this? And how do you get new recruits behind this when there's not going to be new modern Kiss music? It's going to be the same existing music. So I can see those issues with this as far as the longevity possibilities of it. But then there's also the tech issues. Like ABBA had to build an actual space for people to come and see this. Even though there is a live band, they needed the screens and the projection and everything to make the original ABBA members part of the show work. So how are they going to do this as far as touring? How does that work? Can you go and set this up in a day at a venue and make everything work properly? And even if you can set it up that quickly, is this going to work every night? I feel like there's going to be kinks that are going to pop up here and there.
Yeah, including the money it'll take to make that mobile, just because that's not going to be a cheap thing to be able
No,
to.
yeah, this is going to take the kind of equipment and manpower an actual touring band would take. So that means the tickets for this are probably going to be like you bought tickets to see Kiss.
If Gene has anything to say about it, that'll be true.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to be like, oh, it only costs $5 to get in, so why not go and check it out? I don't think that's going to be the case, because I don't think you could sustain this kind of operation on that. So I think ticket prices are going to be comparable to an actual Kiss show ticket prices. And not to nitpick, I do think we need to mention what the avatars look like. What did you think of the way they look, Kelly?
So a more highly rendered Scooby-Doo execution of Kiss would be my definition.
Yeah, and I don't understand if it's, because I thought, well, maybe it's the technology, but then I watched some video of the ABBA one, which is rough because there's ABBA music playing when that happens. But watching the ABBA ones, like, they look like realistic renderings of them, just younger, because they did the motion cap with the real ABBA and then just, made their faces younger. And then there's the actual live band standing there playing. So they're not trying to do anything like animated with it or anything like that. It's just meant to look like this new band playing with young ABBA up on stage. Whereas this, they look like a cartoon group of superheroes, like the Kiss Avengers or something. And I don't know if it's just because of their powers and things that are being represented on there, but it just looks so much more animated and less realistic to me. So I don't know if it's the technology or just the way that it's being presented. And I personally don't like that. Like, I think if you really wanted to show up, and again, maybe this is part of the trade-off of not being pre-rendered, that it has to have more of a slightly cartoonish look to it, but they don't look realistic to me.
Oh. Nope, and I can get, and it makes sense given kind of the mojo of what kind of Kiss is and the stage show and all that, to be able to say, hey, well, before, spitting blood, breathing fire, we're going to amp that up. Spaceman's going to, fly around a little bit more. I can see taking advantage of that when you're no longer confined by physics and all that kind of stuff, and you can do it. But I think you might be onto something that, if you had done a more hyper realistic look of them, to be able to then the processing power necessary to tweak that ever so slightly. You see that done on the deep fake stuff now a lot, but that's like a not insignificant render to kind of get that to get applied, and it doesn't happen real time.
Yeah, now you're talking about 4 characters for a 2-hour plus show being rendered in real time.
Seems like a lot to me.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see.
But if any band was going to do this, it makes sense that it's Kiss.
Yeah. Yeah, especially if it's, all about them. So
the reasoning behind doing it is very Kiss, but I mean they make as much sense as any band to kind of take a step. I can't even say take the first steps, because again, virtual bands exist. ABBA's doing something similar to this from the same people, but for them to take it this much further step or further leap than everybody else has, it makes sense that it's Kiss, because Kiss is a brand first and foremost, and they acknowledge that, I think, themselves. So I'm not coming down on Kiss or putting them down in any way. I did make some Kiss fans a little upset earlier because multiple people messaged me about this, and he pointed out, I was like, well, they're not the greatest musicians in the world and used session players on their records, and for decades have heavily used backing tracks at their shows, which in very Milli Vanilli style, if not always sunk up to the movements on stage. I was like, so they were kind of already avatars of Kiss. To some degree, that was happening. So now you're just replacing the meat avatars with animated versions of it. And they did not like that, the Kiss fans.
Yeah. And, found a way to shed a few of those pounds.
Yeah.
Performance. Because it's kind of hard to walk around in platform shoes when you're sporting a little extra heft.
But I do think, I mean, this is the future of where a lot of things are going to go. You're going to see, I mean, we've already seen it. There's, holograms of musicians and artists who passed away to bands who incorporate a fully virtual show like Death Clock does with Metalocalypse footage and stuff like that, to now, bands like ABBA who do this combination of the original members and CGI form with a new live band and so on. I mean, this is the direction a lot of stuff is going to go. I do think at some point you're going to see fully virtual AI bands and things like that. I think the difference is going to be that if something's created for that space, it's different than trying to get existing fans to adopt that, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I think so. Yeah. And my fingers are crossed that, someone like a Peter Gabriel, who's had a whole history of combining media and pushing the envelope, but ultimately kind of in a very creative, artistic way, kind of comes up with some pretty amazing things, to see how he could take something like this and make it something that could bring in new converts, please the old folks that had already been a fan of him, and actually kind of push the medium versus use the medium. So we'll see.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference. Like, I mean, Kiss is just turning themselves into a cartoon to try and keep making money. But there's somebody who's going to figure out a way, probably sooner than later, to take what ABBA's doing a step further and maybe more artistic and come up with a really cool multimedia presentation that younger fans who are into the technological aspects and older fans who enjoy the live music are both going to come together on. I don't think it's this that they're going to, but you needed somebody to push it further. And why not Kiss of anybody?
Yep, I put some money on either Brian Eno or Peter Gabriel as someone who might actually legitimately take this to a more interesting next step than ABBA or Kiss have.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Hold
somebody
on.
like Brian Eno makes perfect sense.
Yep, who's been kind of flirting with this space in a lot of ways anyway. So excellent. Well, see how many Kiss fans we pissed off, or I did at least. You were a little kinder. But yeah,
Unholy is their best song. There you go.
It's not I was made for loving you, I tell you that. Well, let us know what you think. Think this is a great idea. I think we're all wet on the concerns. Would you pay full price to go see virtual cartoon Kiss? Let us know. And anything else, sir?
No, I think that about covers it. What band would you see this? Not when somebody like Brian Eno does it and pushes it in a more artistic direction, but is doing what Kiss is doing, where it's just an animated AI version of them. What band would you, assuming it's a reasonable ticket price, go and see that of?
But doesn't actually have to be doable because like people are dead and stuff. Because I'd say the Clash would be very high on my list for that. And original Alice Cooper group. How about you?
I would have to think about it. It would have to be probably somebody who's dead though, because I think that that's really where this fully animated approach is going to be best utilized at this stage until they start creating fully digital artists this way, or fully digital shows, I should say this way, created by artists. I think that you can put together a really cool show using something like this based around the music of an artist who's already passed away. So something like The Clash would make perfect sense.
Bog Panda.